So the goal of this session is to go as fast as I can to go into a demo and show you how this stuff is actually works. But I'd like to do a quick introduction first. So first of all, a little intro on process mining. So let's say the promise of really process mining, it's a data-driven approach which enabled the discovery of the real process. So on the left side, this is the starting point. We start from the data that you have or our customer have in their system. So think of databases, CRMs, ERPs, any system that is supporting the business. Contains traces of data that we can use to kind of reverse engineer what we call the process. And the process shows you how you actually work, how the real process is. The alternative, if you want to do how your business is running, especially when it goes wrong, is to actually perform interviews of people, which sometimes is not so objective. You know, they tell you what they know or what they want to tell you. Or you can also read the book. So there are plenty of process diagrams that are out there, but usually they don't really cover well the exceptions. And here you can really scan 100% of the transaction of your business and figure out exactly how you actually work. So let's take a look. So we created process project Discover. So process mining is one of the real priorities for TIBCO Labs. So as you will hear today, TIBCO Labs is a program for innovation with our customer and our partners. So we are seeing a lot of customers currently revisiting that topic of process mining. And this is really helping them to understand and better and quantify their processes. So the data-driven approach is very attractive because it brings objectivity to the analysis. So we see a lot of use cases from digital transformation, process mining being phase one, if you will, ERP migration from on-prem to cloud, for example, or even patient journey in hospitals. So it's very broad, it's very horizontal. It kind of applies to every industry. Everyone has got process problems and needs to figure out how their processes are actually working. So what we did is we used the labs program to work with initial customer, and we created Project Discover. So TIBCO has a strong product portfolio in the areas such as integration, data management, process management, analytics, and data science. So these are the main ingredients, if you will, of process mining. So what did we do? Is we used the TIBCO Labs program to do really three things. First is we put customer requirements at the very front. We work with a couple of them at the beginning. We kind of recompose our own product capabilities, some of them, into a process mining user experience. And we took a very quick time to market approach. So as I said, it's part of a broader story. So a lot of customer starting these digital transformation programs start there. Actually, they start by providing an understanding of their processing using this data approach. Then this can feed a kind of documentation of how things are actually working today, how you want them to be working tomorrow. And then it's a great opportunity also to justify the business case, let's say, for improvement. So improvement could mean automation, for example, predictions, and so on and so forth. Okay, so how does Project Discover works? So it's very simple. On the left side, it's kind of three phases. On the left side, we connect to your systems and we expose what we call the event log data across the multiple sources. We use a technique called data virtualization. So we create a sort of virtual data mart, if you will, and your data doesn't need to move. That's the good news. Then in the middle, we run process mining algorithm on demand or on a scheduled fashion as you want. And then on the right side, finally, we offer a visual exploration and very interactive as well, and quantification of metrics about your processes. So you pick the visual you like, or the one that are the most suited also to your data, to your consumer, to your personas. And this is very open also and customizable. And finally, we allow you to raise investigations. So once you find an issue in your underlying process, you may want to raise it as an issue, and we call it investigation, in order to track and resolve the underlying cause of the problem. So this is using our kind of case management component here. So one of the customers that we worked with is Invitalia. They finance the economic development of Italy. So one of the things they are currently working on at the moment, for example, is post, well, I can't really say post-COVID, but at the moment is a special program to incentive the business to return to the south of Italy. And for them, optimizing the process is very important, because if they can shorten the time to process those kind of financing requests, then they can finance more, and this could also benefit to the Italian economy in general. So if you want to read more, I've included in the end of the presentation some resources. We have a great case study also online. For them, it's also, you know, discovery is the first step. Explore how you work today. Also, compliance is the second step, is make sure that you follow and you can define and follow the company policies. And eventually, once you've learned from your existing or your past, your completed instances, obviously you can use that learning also to build predictive services or analytics for the future request that could use that learning to optimize the outcomes. All right, so you may ask yourself, what's the link with open source? So actually, this project is an open source project. So it does uses some product components from TIBCO. So I mentioned three main of them, which is data virtualization to connect to your systems, Spotfire as the analytics platform in general, and the data visualization element, and then live apps for the kind of case management piece. And then we use Cloud Starter. You just saw a session about Cloud Starter to build a very customized user experience for process mining. This entire user interface is open source and is using the open source project as well. And then the whole backend that we built is made of open source components, and the asset that we produce with the project Discover is completely open source as well. So it uses things like Kubernetes services. It uses Apache Spark to run the different algorithms and calculation. It's also very open, so you could come and bring your own algorithm or Python code or machine learning models and anything that you can think of. And basically, so we make it easy for you to bring your data. We let you run those algorithms in the middle, and then we store the result in a relational database, and then we have kind of Spotfire that reads from that database. So what we ended up with is an architecture that looks like this. So the things in blue that you see is the TIBCO piece. So in the TIBCO cloud, we use Spotfire and Live Apps as cloud services. We also build the UI, and the UI can be deployed in the TIBCO cloud as an app on TIBCO cloud, pretty much as you saw just before from Hugo and Jeremy. We use data virtualization, let's say, product components to facilitate exposing your data from your system. So in purple is the system that you manage and your infrastructure. And then the thing in blue here, which is completely open source, is basically Project Discover that brings together and orchestrates a number of algorithms and code. We also provided an API approach with a bunch of microservices that you install and run in Kubernetes. And that piece, you can actually, so first of all, you can run it any platform you like. So if you can use AWS or Azure or Google Cloud Kubernetes services, or you can install it on a private cloud as well. We also build the architecture multi-tenanted, so you can think of a partner running the service on behalf of their customer as well. And and using this kind of multi-tenant setup where every customer has their own TIBCO cloud account, and then the backend is completely mutualized and shared across the different customer. This project has been very active. It's been like 12 months. We released in Q4 last year an initial release, and we've been working on various new things. We simplified the way you bring your data. As I said, using the data virtualization or files. We improved the process analysis experience, and with more mapping and more kind of data preparation. We added the template feature, but instead of talking about it, I think I'm going to just do a quick demo. So you can take a look of at the solution. So let me connect to my TIBCO cloud. You have access to the full source code, and it's extensible. So very simply, so remember there's 3 phases: bring your data, run the algo, and then visualize the processes. Let's start by the how you bring a new data. So for example, here we have this notion of data sets. Here I've got 2 data sets already. So let's say I have a new data sets. I say this is new, I don't know, financing request. Let me put the same as in the description. I go next. Basically, I've got 2 choices. I could select from the TIBCO data virtualization. So this is a list of views that are exposed by the TDV data catalog. So you can use the TIBCO data virtualization product to kind of combine multiple of your system and expose a single view of data. We also allow you to simply drag and drop files in the system. So this could be used for demos, or this could be used if you have already ETL processes. So let me show you how it. Let's use one of these files. So I have a sample file that I can use, but so what we allow to have a kind of preview of the data. So you see a case ID, a timestamp, and an activity. These are the 3 main elements that you need to do a process mining, and then you can bring as many data as you will. This data could be 50, 100 of columns. They could come from 10 different systems. So it's completely open. So you come with your own schema basically. Then you can tell us, we figure out the types of the columns automatically, but you can also overwrite it if you will. Then we kind of suggest a couple of data formats. Sometimes you can have ambiguity in your data or multiple formats, so we try to help you as much as we can. And then finally you finish. So then what we do is we upload the file and we create some kind of server-side computation of the data set that will make the whole thing available for analysis a little later. So it takes 1 or 2 minutes. It depends on the size of the data, of course. This one is a couple of megs, I think, of files, and after a few seconds, then it should be ready. So this is step number 1. Step number 1, you bring your data. You may use, let's say, data virtualization to expose, and then you're done. Then the next thing is you create an analysis. So an analysis is then I want to this is where process mining really comes in. You need to tell us about your data. So you need to describe what are so first of all, you need to create a data set. So this financing request, for example, that I just created. So basically now I see basically the same things, but now it's kind of normalized and available for process mining. Now, what you need to do with your data is you need to do mappings. So you need to tell us what is the case, what is the column that you would like to use as a correlation ID. Because as we rebuild the process, we assume that there is this notion of an instance and multiple events of the same instance. So you need to tell us there is an ID. Sometimes it's tricky to get this ID, and also the solution can help you build the ID. But in this case, it's very simple. It's just single column called case ID here. Then you need to tell us the activity. Again, sometimes you have a group of activities, sometimes a very granular version of the activity. Sometimes you have a code and activity name or description. So it's up to you really to decide which one you want to use. Same for the timestamp. So these are the basic 3 fields that that we need. Again, we sequence activities in time to become a process. But you could also have things like end time or schedule time. We work with a hospital, for example, where we schedule an operation, and we kind of want to compare the actual event to the schedule to see how much the patient has waited to get his operation, things like this. So again, there's a lot of extra stuff that you can do that I don't have time to go into details. You can just say, take all the other attributes. So if you have 100 of them, then it will take them all, and it will help you use them in the analytics later on. And then you go next, and then you confirm, and then you finish. And then you need to wait 2-3 minutes. Because we don't have 2-3 minutes, then I'm going to just cancel that and go to one that has been created automatically. So imagine that this is actually this data set. So the first thing you can do is you can now view the analytics, and this is so in 10-15 minutes you bring your data, you run the computation, and you're there. And what can you do here? So we give you an overall summary of the data. So number of cases, we compute what we call variance, and the variance is how many ways that you actually do your process. And in most of cases, you think that you do the process always the same way. But when you discover from the data, this is where you see, oh, I actually have a lot of exceptions that I didn't anticipate, and I'm interested in seeing why we have this exception and fix the underlying problems. So this is fine. This shows a timeline of all the events, so it allows you to look at we're looking for 2018 to 2019, for example. It's very interactive, so you can move things around, you can move the cursor, you can filter, you can reduce, you can compare 2018 to 2019, etc. So that's the basic filtering of the data. Now let's look into the variants themselves. So you have a kind of combined overview here, and basically these are ways that you do your process. So if I zoom in here, I see sequence of activities, and I see, for example, a median duration here. So this is the most frequent variant, number one. And the size of the box gives you the frequency, so the number of occurrence, and the color tells you about the performance. So you could see, for example, the variant number one is not super performant because it's kind of reddish, versus the number 11, which is the second one by order of frequency, is much better in terms of the overall performance. And in fact, if you go to number one, you can see a lot of red activity, and you see you wait 20 days here for this assignment. And in this particular, this is a real example coming from Invitalia that we worked with, and there was a problem, let's say a bottleneck here in the assignment, and one of the outcomes of this is the introduction of some automation and some automatic dispatching of the assignment of the work that was quite complex. So you can discover this kind of thing. So what you can do as well is you can aggregate, right? So you start to look at your process as a whole, and you can see things like what is the nominal path, or what is my outlier. So, for example, my this little variant that has only 10 occurrences, what is it about? Why do I have this this way? So you can look at things. You can look at the overall distribution. So we built a number of visualization out of the box, and all of this can be customized using the Spotfire capability from TIBCO. So you, for example, here you look at the let's say 60% of your case that I selected, and you can look at how much they perform. So some of them perform very well. Some of them, you could look at them. For example, if you want really to reduce the end-to-end time, you may say, oh, this one and this one are worth a look because they correspond to quite a lot of cases. And then you can visually immediately see where you spend your time. You spend your time at the beginning and a little bit here as well. So this gives you the ability to really discover how the things actually work and where you can put your effort. So what can you do with that? For example, you could say this number one doesn't look very good. So let's raise an investigation. Let's have a team to explain to me why this is happening. So why is this so slow? So probably in the real world, you would put different wording around this. You could also say, okay, that's a compliance issue, or that's a review, or maybe an improvement. We need to improve that most frequent variant. So we kind of create what we call an investigation. So then someone else, like some case resolver, could come here and see the different types of investigation that they have to do. So as you could see, this is the kind of issue that I just raised. And I can act on it. So I can send to an investigation team. I can put a little comment, and as I progress this process, this will help me to escalate it, to resolve it, find the root cause, fix the problem, until I run again process mining, and then I can see the result and the benefit of the change in the new version that I put in place. So I think I'm pretty short of time for doing a lot of demos. So there is one more thing that I would like to show you. So you saw kind of discovery. You start from a data here, build a process analysis in a few minutes, and then get the analytics, raise some investigation. Another thing that you can do is you can build a reference, what we call a reference model. So you could say, for example, the first 8 or 10 variants that I just selected here, let's promote them to be the reference. And then this thing in green becomes your compliance rules. And what we do then, when you go to compliance, is we compute, we calculate the uncompliance of all the others, basically. So we give you the degree of compliance of all your cases. And when you click on each of the elements here that are not compliant, we kind of tell you visually also. So in green is the thing that you follow and you was in the compliance to follow. The red part is the thing that you are doing, but you should not be doing. And the blue part is the interesting part, is the activity that you are not performing, but you are supposed to perform to be compliant. So you can really discover what are all the, let's say, the execution path. You can define which ones are the compliant ones, and then you can measure the degree of compliance of all your cases in the future. And at any time you can, remove or add to here. We've got all sorts of different visualization. Also, some are focused on resources because processes are executed by resources. You can look at also activities. You can look at performance of each of the activity of your process. You can see, for example, who are the top performer in your processes and things like this, till you go to the very case details, and you can look at a particular case, a single event, for example, and see the see the audits, see the attributes, and see really the details. So with that, I think I did a very short tour of this project. I would just would like to finish. Do I have 1 more minute? You have a couple of key resources here that you'll be able to find, and just do a few little summary. So Project Discover is an open source project that kind of provides a process mining solution. It's built on TIBCO's connected intelligence platform, and powered by a couple of powerful data integration and analytics components, plus an open kind of architecture based on Kubernetes and some open source kind of backend. Cloud native, multi-tenant, we support hybrid deployments, and really everything that you saw, including the analytics and the visual, can be extended. So it's meant to be a starting point for someone who wants to do process mining using a great analytics platform and a data virtualization tool to make it easy to connect your data. Jesus, I think it's back to you now.
Yeah, no, that was impressive, right on time, and thank you so much for that, Nicolas.